We are talking about Nerdrotic, the biggest grifter on GriftTube right now, it would seem. I'm not joking. I took a look at his channel and I was expecting him to be falling off, considering making fun of Nerdrotic and his brand of content has never been more popular, but he's actually pulling unbelievable viewership. Like, he is at his all-time peak right now, Nerdrotic is. So I figured we might as well check in on him, see what he's been up to, what kind of content he's been making. Yeah, Turdrotic, if you will. He is complaining incessantly about the Odyssey movie by Christopher Nolan that's coming out soon. It seems like that's really where a lot of his numbers are being brought in, is people watching those videos. So I thought we'd check out his newest one and rip it apart, because he's really dumb and his arguments are bad. Let's watch, shall we? We're not even stalling a little bit. We're just getting right into it.
I'm Lupita Nyong'o, and I'm here to talk about seeing Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey in 70mm film. The film is shot entirely with IMAX film cameras on large format film. 70mm film has 5 perforations and runs vertically through the projector, so we can experience this immersive and special cinematic format.
You sure about that? You sure about that?
Nerdrotic.com.
Okay, what are we getting mad at now? So for those that don't know, the way that these right-wing grifters operate, I guess I'll catch some of you up to speed if you maybe don't know what these people are all about. They identify a piece of media that they decided is woke, and they're betting on failing, and then they try to manufacture its financial failure, because their worldview hinges heavily on the idea that those that are peddling the right political views will have the most money. They will be making the most money. So go woke, go broke. You know, if you're making a movie and it's pushing left-wing political views, it'll go broke and it'll fail. If you make a movie and it's pushing right-wing political views, it'll make money and it will succeed. They extend this to YouTube, to streamers, to books, to video games, to movies, and everything you can imagine. All media, all messaging of all forms. If it pushes the right politics, it'll make money. If it pushes the wrong politics, it goes broke. And they try to predict when it'll happen and make as many videos about how it's going to happen as possible in the lead up to the release of a new piece of media. In this case, we're dealing with a non-stop string of videos about this Odyssey movie.
You over 1 million Hellions and the upwards of 15 million Greeks there are around the world, for which none of you are represented or actually in Christopher Nolan's Odyssey, and the 40% who haven't subscribed yet. With all the bad ideas going to theatrical or streaming screens this year, including but not limited to The Bride, Return to Silent Hill, The Mandalorian and Grogu, Supergirl, Animal Farm, Black Snape, and while this isn't on screen with the Game of Thrones play Mad King, Black Starks, the last film we expected to be embroiled in a culture war controversy was...
Okay, I just... Good luck getting any amount of people to care about who they're casting to play characters in a on-stage play for Game of Thrones. I mean, at that point, like, you are fishing for way beyond the normie crowd. You are not... I don't even know. Like, why care? Why give a shit? There is a certain point with the grift stuff where it's like, really? You're getting mad that the Stark family is being played by black actors in the stage adaptation? Really? That's what you're upset about? That's how far we're delving into the nonsense to pretend that we care about this? Okay.
One by Christopher Nolan, but here we are. Now, a good director always wants to evolve and spread his wings, but I found it odd that Christopher Nolan would take on The Odyssey, a mythological tale that's essentially fantasy. Yes, he has taken on superhero films, but what he did with those was ground them, and hey, 2 out of 3 weren't bad. I just never saw material like this as in his wheelhouse. It would be like Christopher Nolan directing a comedy.
The Ballad of Ricky Bobby is a Christopher Nolan mic drop movie. Is that what you're saying?
If you ain't first, you're last.
But to be fair, we've seen directors like this pull it off before, like when Ridley Scott did Legend, which is an absolute masterpiece, and yet...
So is Nerdrotic not leaning so hard into the right-wing grift part of his content? Because back in the day, he was just churning out slop. Like, very overtly right-wing slop, like, oh, there's a black character, this is woke. So is he kind of trying to front as a little bit more of like a mainstream normie media channel that just happens to have the same opinions as the anti-woke guys that he's friends with? Is that what he's pivoted to? Because that's what would make sense as to why he's pulling such immense viewership these days. He would have to be pivoting out of that, like, really upfront, in-your-face, anti-woke stuff.
I said it, it's a masterpiece. Both versions, the one with the tangerine dream
like Mahler has kind of like mastered it, right? Like where you get to have your cake and eat it too. Like he's one of those anti-woke creators that will get you lost in the minutia of arguing as to whether or not he's even anti-woke. You know, like that's the place to be, right? Where you actually don't have any positions you need to defend. You're just against what everybody else is against, whatever it's popular to be against. It's very, it's a very good, it's a good spot to be in.
Dream soundtrack and the one with the Jerry Goldsmith soundtrack. But Nolan, the man famously known for not owning a cell phone, yet all his assistants do, the auteur, who works exclusively for multi-billion-dollar corporations, known for his technical prowess, and even when he takes on fantastic elements, he grounds them in some sort of science, to the point where you have to read a book to completely understand what the hell he was doing at the end of Interstellar, and we're still waiting on that Tenet book, because nobody knows what the hell was going on there.
I haven't seen Interstellar yet, but I'm willing to bet that you will not need to read a book to understand what happened in Interstellar. I'm going to guess that like some general pop science videos will give you enough to get it.
There, including one of the actors in the film, Robert.
Isn't it literally just time dilation? Like isn't it literally just a time dilation effect that's relevant to the movie? The fact that gravity has an impact on time, and doesn't the movie take place on a planet that's in the gravity well of a black hole? And time can't escape. Time is literally slowed relative to the rest of the universe on this planet inside of the gravity of the black hole. And like because of that, they're basically in a time capsule as the rest of the universe ages super fast. Like that's literally all the science you need to understand to get Interstellar, right? I need to watch the movie. Maybe I'm wrong.
Pattinson. Nolan also has quite the reputation for cinematic authenticity and immersion, and as I've said before, he's the biggest name in Hollywood. It's last star. He's the only person who can consistently get butts and seats on his name alone. And no, you can't count James Cameron, who's only made 3 films in the last 17 years from the same franchise, and they certainly make a lot of money, and absolutely everybody forgets them by the time they get to their car. Now, you think he would be a little more...
I don't know. The Avatar movies have had no cultural impact thing. Kind of fell apart with the last one. Like the amount of memes that came from the newest Avatar movie that have stuck around have been pretty persistent. And like, fair enough, when the first 2 Avatar movies came out, you don't really see like it had an impact with the first one, obviously, but then over a decade goes by, people aren't talking about it as much anymore, other than that big movie that kind of brought about CGI. The sequel comes out, it does gangbusters. Everyone's like, okay, well, of course it did numbers. It's the sequel to Avatar, so of course everyone was gonna watch it. But then they release a third one, and it's like, okay, if this one is on the same level as the previous 2, it means that this is actually a franchise with an established fan base. Like, there's clearly people invested in this story if the third one does well. And the third one did well. There's gonna be a 4th one and a 5th one now confirmed. So it's pretty clear this movie stuck with people. I know it's like the internet bandwagon meme to be like, yeah, these movies had no cultural impact, but that's literally my point, is whatever talking point you see constantly repeated with like 1,000 likes or 50,000 likes on Twitter, that's the kind of takes you're gonna hear from guys like this, because they are way too scared to have an original thought. If they have original thought or opinion, it might be controversial, and if it's controversial, they might make less money.
More motivated, considering he's got...
These guys like to be fake controversial.
5 ex-wives to feed. But since the announcement of Lupita Nyong'o...
I'm Lupita Nyong'o.
I can't pronounce that. Like I said, Lupita Nyong'o playing Helen of Troy and her twin sister, Clytemnestra.
I mean, I am a black woman.
Who canonically isn't her twin sister, and if she was, why wasn't she the face that launched 1,000 more ships? I've got to know, what does she have, a bad reputation, a venereal disease? Anyway, since that announcement and the possibility of Paige playing Achilles or even Elpenor, which wouldn't be good either because he's a dude. Let's just say we've seen clapback to a Christopher Nolan film of...
Wait, are we... No shot Nerdrotic is pro-trans now? Is that how much he's had to like give up in order to achieve this level of viewership he's getting these days? Did he just say that Elliot Page is a dude and use he/him pronouns? Hold on.
1,000 more ships. I've got to know, what does she have, a bad reputation?
Did I misinterpret what he said?
A venereal disease? Anyway, since that announcement and the possibility of Paige playing Achilles or even Elpenor, which wouldn't be good either because he's a dude. Let's just say we've...
Okay, so I'm assuming what he's saying is that it wouldn't be good for Elliot Page to play that character because he's a dude. The character is a dude, and he's implying because Elliot Page is not a dude is implied in what he said, maybe. I don't know. Regardless, the fact he couldn't be upfront about that, we'll see. Maybe he gets into the full-throated transphobia here in a second.
Seen clapback to a Christopher Nolan film of the likes we have never seen before, including the trailer where the last time I did a video, it was overwhelmingly liked, and now it's not ratioed, but it is the most disliked Nolan trailer ever. Additionally, it's almost ratioed in the UK. It is ratioed in Australia. It's overwhelmingly ratioed in Germany. Universal also released some promotional clips.
Keep in mind, review bias does exist. But also, why should we give a shit about how many dislikes the trailer is getting? Like, are we really back to being like in that 2016 era where it's like this? I guess it is. It really is like 2016 again. It reminds me a lot of like when Battlefield 1 and Call of Duty Infinite Warfare launched. And both games were like pit against each other, and everyone was like review bombing the Infinite Warfare trailer before it even came out. It was like a meme to dislike it and then to like the Battlefield 1 trailer. And it was all just because people had decided any kind of sci-fi aspects in Call of Duty or shooting games was bad, and we needed to revert back to boots in the ground, World War I and World War II style games. And it was really weird because, like, instead of it just being people saying, man, I wish we had more World War I and World War II style first-person shooters like in the old days, but with modern tech, instead of just saying that, they felt the need to, like, review bomb the newest Call of Duty for not being that, and then, like, reward the newest Battlefield in, like, response. I don't know. It feels like we've really gone back to, like, the low-stakes internet shit show that is 2016. We're just back in 2016 again. The cycle has completed.
And guess what? The only one that's almost ratioed is the one with Lupita Nyong'o.
When I think about...
Also, correct me if I'm wrong, dislikes being tracked, it like when you use the dislike add-ons, from what I understand at least, the dislike add-ons don't know how many dislikes a YouTube video has because they can't actually access the back-end data that YouTube has for that. While creators can see how many dislikes they got on the back end, like I can see how many dislikes my videos get, usually around a 95 to 98% like to dislike ratio, which is pretty good. Like that's an A. Most people seem to like my videos, it would seem. What was I saying? If you're using the add-on that lets you see dislikes, what it's doing is it's calculating based on the ratio of likes to the amount of people who have used the dislike add-on to dislike the video, how many they think didn't have the dislike add-on and also disliked the video. They also calculate that and add it onto the number. And so keep in mind that while I'm sure there probably is a pretty stark ratio of dislikes to likes on these trailers, if that even matters at all, it's probably not as extreme as what we're seeing here because of the way that YouTube's dislike hiding works. And keep in mind, the whole reason why YouTube started hiding dislikes was because of this. Like, dislikes when they were being used for what they were for, which was demonstrating whether or not a video was good or bad and signaling whether or not a video was good or bad, that was great. But then people like this started to weaponize dislikes for ulterior motives, even to try and like harm channels in the algorithm. Now, mass disliking something, unless you're using an add-on, really doesn't have that much of an effect unless you're the kind of person with an add-on who's going out to mass dislike things. So the average normie has no clue that dislikes even matter anymore. But they used to be a useful metric, but they stopped mattering when people like this, not her, but like people like Nerdrotic, the guy making this video, started using dislike bombing as a method of online engagement.
Equality or equity, I don't think about taking from a male figure. I think about getting what is due to me.
Additionally, the Odyssey trailer is almost ratioed in the Netherlands and France, but strangely enough, I couldn't find a Universal Pictures Greece, which is a good thing, considering Christopher Nolan and Universal Pictures has managed to piss off an
That's probably the only complaint I've heard about this movie that really resonates with me as far as like the culture war goes, is that there's no actual Greek actors in the movie besides maybe some extras, despite them filming in Greece with the approval of the Greek government. It's like, okay, well, that's a little bit, I don't know, like, it just seems a little weird to not have any Greek actors, I guess. Like, are there no acclaimed Greek actors that fit the characters that we're talking about here? You'd have to imagine there would be, right? I have a few Greek viewers that commented on my last video touching on this Odyssey movie about this, and they don't seem like they're too upset, but the consensus is, yeah, it is kind of weird that there are no Greek actors in this movie, so I'll give Nerdrotic that one. Not that I even give a shit about this movie outside of how chuds are trying to weaponize hate against this movie for their political ends, but, you know, nonetheless, I'll give them that one.
entire country with the Odyssey, and that would be Greece, who felt the need to write an open letter to Christopher Nolan and Universal Studios, reminding them that they still exist, that we did not vanish. We are still here. For more than 3,000 continuous years, Greek identity has persisted through transformation rather than disappearance. And they don't bring this up because Greek identity is fragile. They bring it up because it is, again, continuous. And my favorite part is the addendum given Hollywood and the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences rules and insistence for minority representation, authenticity, and diversity. Where are the Greeks or the Greek Americans in this Greek story? And they even go so far as to give the cast of the Odyssey with all...
Okay, buddy, don't do the whole diversity as if you're making fun of the people who call for that, while also making the correct call out that this movie doesn't contain any actual Greek main actors outside of some extras. Like, it's a valid complaint, but it is fundamentally a representation-based complaint. Like, you're kind of getting where the left is coming from on some of these issues here. You're seeing a movie that's like about a Greek legend, and you're like, kind of fucked up they don't have any Greek actors in this, right? You're getting where we're coming from now, right? But you guys are always the ones saying that the race of the people who are casted shouldn't matter. We shouldn't try to go for diversity casting, you know? Like, but...
of their nationalities, including Zendaya, African-American, German, and Scottish ancestry, Lupita Nyong'o, Kenyan and Mexican, Charlize Theron, South African, John Leguizamo, who's Colombian.
I mean, North Africa is on the Mediterranean. Like most of Greece is islands that just kind of go out through the Mediterranean, and they get pretty close to Africa. I mean, it's a real short, it's a real short little boat ride from northern Africa over to the islands of Greece. It's not exactly that crazy. It'd be like, whoa, a Floridian in Georgia? That's crazy. It's like, no, not really. No, it's pretty close. Africa is pretty damn close to Greece. It's not that crazy. It's pretty reasonable that there would be black characters in this movie. Greece is a patch of islands next to Turkey, and directly south of it is the continent of Africa, my friend.
Benny Safdie, who is a Syrian Jew, Jovan Adepo, who's Nigerian, and Mia Goth, who's Brazilian. But no Greeks, even though it was filmed there. And now Greece knows what the rest of us know. Hollywood is completely full of shit with their diversity. And again, this isn't a Netflix project, it's a Christopher Nolan project. That's why it is surprising that these questions may have to be asked. Will the Odyssey flop, and has Chris Nolan gone full woke Hollywood? We'll deal with the latter first, because we're seeing more red flags hoisted up than San Francisco preparing for another Xi Jinping visit. Let's start with the inevitable fan backlash, because...
Okay, blue cities are literally communist, I guess, is just the joke there. They do love that talking point, that anything left of Hitler is communist. Hey, Aimway, thank you for the $5. I really appreciate that. It says, fun fact, technically Achilles is canonically a femboy. He cross-dressed and pretended to be a girl in order to avoid getting drafted. I honestly feel like it would be something borderline problematic about casting a trans person to play that character, you know? Like, because I don't think there's anything implying transness about Achilles. I think it's more like if you project transness onto Achilles, I feel like that might be more problematic. Like, people do have a problem with that, don't they? Like, any character that has anything to do with like presenting differently than the gender they were assigned at birth, no matter what the context, people will project transness onto them. And then when that writing results in that projection being a bit problematic, it's like they blame the media and not themselves for projecting that onto it, you know? I'm getting a little bit sidetracked, but I've seen this happen before.
It's obviously their fault that Chris Nolan and Universal made a horrible casting decision, or two, or three, or a few. In Lupita Nyong'o's interview with Elle, it is stated her Helen of Troy is representative of the world. You know, for an industry like activist Hollywood that constantly yammers on about the sins of cultural appropriation, you guys are pretty good at cultural appropriation. When Elle magazine asked Lupita Nyong'o what it means to portray...
I mean... is it cultural appropriation to tell a story that's from another culture? Because I don't think that's ever been what it's typically referred to. I figured cultural appropriation was like, hey bros, I got dreads and I'm a white guy. That's typically what I hear being cultural appropriation, or like, oh, it's Halloween. You know what I'm going to be for Halloween? An American Indian hunter. That's right. And just going like in the full regalia. That's the kind of thing you typically see criticized as some kind of cultural appropriation.
The face that lost that lost 1,000 ships. That launched 1,000 ships. She quickly dismissed the idea. You can't perform beauty. Yeah, you can. She says, I want to know who the character is. What's beyond the beauty? What's beyond the looks? Those are the same thing. That's the thing about doing such a well-known text, one that you hadn't read or known anything about until you started this project, which has been studied and interpreted and...
Wait, hold on. So is the new is like the requirement to play a character that is part of a mythology story. You have to have been intimately familiar with that mythology before getting the character, before, like, you had to have read it, the original source material, before the movie was ever a concept in anyone's mind. You can't have just read it and figured it all out once you got the character. Really? That's the standard we're setting? The way he said it, for a second, I thought he was going to imply the actress had never even read the Odyssey. But he's basically just admitted she has. She just did it in a time frame he's not approving of. He's not happy with.
Derived from, and that's certainly what's happening here. The research could be endless, or it just could be making shit up. I don't know. The good thing about working with a writer like Chris is that it's on the page. The investigation starts with the pages you're given. That's what I based it on. So she started preparing for the role once she got the script, and in this case, that might be a good thing, considering that she admitted within this Elle magazine interview that she had never heard of the Odyssey until she was offered the role, despite having a master's degree in fine arts from Yale. Aside from the fact that this explains a lot about our American institutional learning facilities. I've been kicked out of 3 high schools, and
I mean, Greek mythology is not the kind of thing you're learning in your main, like, common classes. You got to be specializing in something that's what you would call a waste of a degree, if you're being completely real, if you're going to be learning anything about that. Like, the Odyssey in general, you should have probably heard about it, and she probably has and just didn't really, like, commit it to memory and think she hadn't heard of it. But, like, it makes sense that some people, not everybody has the same lived experience as you, bro. Doesn't mean they're stupid or that their education has failed them. All right? Like, they did not pursue an education in mythology. A lot of people just aren't, or a lot of people I know aren't interested in it. I'll talk to people that I know about, like, really neat, like, somewhat obscure mythology stories from certain pantheons, and they just don't give a fuck. And I'm like, damn, okay. Shit, I find this stuff interesting, but if you don't care, I'll find someone else to talk with about it. Damn.
I've not only heard of the Odyssey, I've actually read it. But Elle magazine continues, of course, framing you, the audience, as the bad guy. After her casting was announced, Nwongo faced racist critiques about the decision to cast her as a Greek character. But she reminds those who may have forgotten, this is a mythological story. By that logic, I look forward to Chris Pratt being cast as Anansi, the African trickster god. And I'm sure absolutely no one, including Black Twitter, would get upset. Lupita continues, I'm very supportive of Chris's intention with it. That doesn't sound good. And with the version of this story that he is telling, that also doesn't sound good. Our cast is representative of the world.
Oh, hot damn. Thank you, Larry Banks, 78, for the tier 4 sub. God damn. Thank you for the support. 1 month on that. I appreciate it. Thank you, Larry Banks. Enjoy that gold name, my friend. No Shot Nerdrotic's friend, 1/4 Black Garrett, did a racist blackface on Halloween nearly a year ago on Twitter. I kid you not. I really like that his white friend's name is 1/4 Black Garrett. It's pretty funny.
I'm not spending my time thinking of a defense. The criticism will exist whether I engage with it or not. She elaborates on this thought at another point in the conversation, saying, it's quite something to be a part of the Odyssey because it is so grand. It spans worlds. So that's why the cast is what it is. We're occupying...
No, Nerdrotic didn't do that. His friend, his white guy friend named 1/4 Black Garrett did that.
The epic narrative of our time, an epic narrative that you hadn't heard of until you got the role. Now, one thing that's been overlooked a little bit because of Lupita Nyong'o and Elliot Page is Zendaya being cast as the goddess Athena, which is abysmal casting, but we haven't heard much from her except...
Not really, actually. Honestly, no. Like, the first time I ever saw Athena depicted was in God of War, the games growing up, so I'm not gonna lie, you give Zendaya the, like, the right outfit and do her hair right, and it's like, yeah, it's Athena. Yeah, pretty much. That works.
For this, where she posted a picture of herself holding Frank Herbert's Dune and Emily Wilson's translation of the Odyssey. If you are unaware of Emily Wilson's translation of the Odyssey...
Oh no, a woman. All right. Uh-oh, the woke femoid translation of the Odyssey. We don't like that one.
It is a translation through a feminist lens. I quote, the silencing of female voices and dangers of female agency are central problems in the poem. So has Nolan gone full woke Hollywood? It certainly looks that way, and...
Dude, how are people still eating this slop up in 2026? People are struggling to pay their rent and to pay off their car payment, and gas is going through the roof, and then they come home, they say, thank God Donald Trump won, and they grind out a bunch of these videos about how like wokeness is still somehow destroying everything despite Trump having won already and the Republicans holding every branch of government. Somehow woke is still a big problem. And as things continue to get worse, this is the shit they're worried about.
You couple that with the casting of John Leguizamo, who's mostly known for his TDS and not necessarily for his acting skill.
TDS. That's right. Remember, guys, if you dislike their cult leader in any way, you have Trump derangement syndrome. One of my favorite things that I've seen conservatives admit is that they think that if anyone can think of any single thing they don't like about Donald Trump, then they have Trump derangement syndrome. If there is anything that you can think of off the top of your head that you don't like about Trump, you have TDS. That's unironically their open position. It's just a cult. You're not allowed to believe anything negative about him. That is the fundamental core of a personality cult. And I don't think they realize it. I think they think of like Jonestown type shit when they imagine cult. They don't understand the idea of a personality cult.
Scott, and yes, Elliot Page. All these decisions look like what they are, acts of defiance. But the problem is, the true act of defiance would have been casting this film accurately and adapting it accurately. Once again, Christopher Nolan doesn't need to play this game. If he would have cast the Odyssey authentically, he would have still won awards. He's only doing this because he wants to. I do not worship at the altar of Nolan, nor do I hate him. I like a lot of his films. Prestige is one of my all-time favorites and one of my favorite things about him.
Very cool, very cool. There really is something about the internet that needs to be said, insofar as this guy would be considered the absolute, like, dredge, bottom scum of the barrel of society only 20 years ago. No one would listen to this guy, no one would take him seriously, and he would be considered the joke that he is. But because of the internet, the loudest losers allow for other losers like them to congregate, and they create massive communities. And that's what we're witnessing now with the likes of Nerdrotic. Wild to think that this guy is actually at his peak right now. Crazy. We really are. In just Gamergate 2. I predicted it years ago, but we're in it. Gamergate 2 is still happening. But I do think its time is numbered. Its days are very, very numbered. Anyway, folks, if you enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe, ring the bell icon if you want to see more of me and you want to support the channel. I always appreciate it immensely. Of course, follow my social medias linked down below if you want to see more from me on other platforms. And if you want to go the extra mile to support the channel, consider donating, subscribing, or gifting a sub on my website, xanderhall.com/live, and or support me in the same way over on YouTube. I always appreciate it immensely. All right. Thank you for watching.